Good morning. During my Condition of the State address last January, I outlined several state priorities. Perhaps one of the most significant initiatives was mentioning that this was to be the year of manufacturing. Directly and indirectly, manufacturing derives 1/3 of Iowa's economy. Despite Iowa's leadership in agriculture and feeding the world, it is advanced manufacturing that makes up the state's largest single business sector, contributing in excess of $29 billion annually to our state's economy. This equates to approximately 18% of the overall GDP. Iowa consistently ranks among the top 10 states in terms of percentage of GDP derived from manufacturing. Additionally, approximately 14% of the state's total workforce is employed in the manufacturing sector. You can see it in the numbers. Manufacturing is essential to Iowa's economy. Iowa has performed comparatively well because of the productivity, profits, and efficiency of our existing base of industry and business. Although Iowa is one of the nation's most manufacturing-dependent states, our advanced manufacturing sector remains diverse and not overly dependent on one single area of economic fortunes. The very definition of advanced manufacturing is an industry that increasingly integrates innovative technologies in the production process or within the end product itself. The art of technology adoption and the ability to use technology to remain competitive and add value tends to define the advanced manufacturing sector. But to spur investment, we cannot just rely on our past or the status quo. We must collaborate to execute initiatives that support innovation. We must create an environment that ensures Iowa manufacturers and their employees can meet the competitive levels that are being set nationally and around the globe. Now, in an effort to ramp up our efforts and to demonstrate our commitment to strengthening the industry by encouraging innovation, entrepreneurship, and investment, we are pleased to officially launch this year of manufacturing. Now that the legislature's gone home, we can focus on this very important issue. I'd like to bring Lieutenant Governor Kim Reynolds up to tell you more about our goal that Iowa become even stronger in the area of manufacturing and advanced manufacturing in particular. Lieutenant Governor Reynolds.
Good morning. Thank you, Governor Branstad. Advanced manufacturing is by far our most critical sector. Our companies are innovative in their products and their processes. They have strong supply chain and an extremely agile and skilled workforce. Iowa's top advanced manufacturing divisions include industrial metal processing, automation, precision machinery, ag machinery, food and beverage. Other key industries include aerospace and defense, industrial chemicals, and construction components. Iowa is proud of our globally recognized companies like John Deere, Vermeer, Rockwell Collins, to mighty enterprises such as Accumold and Vantec. The advanced manufacturing sector is strong in Iowa because the public-private sectors work together to ensure conditions are favorable for growth to remain competitive in a very global marketplace. The state already has multiple programs and organizations that support the manufacturing industry, from state agencies and our private and public universities and colleges and community colleges, to internships, training, financing programs, and assistance in rapid prototyping for new product development. We have multiple forms of assistance available. We've also spearheaded initiatives like the Future Ready Iowa Initiative and the Governor's STEM Council that are helping us address the workforce needs to make certain that our state's manufacturers are aware and are utilizing these programs we're really challenging our state's major service and program providers to work together to highlight the initiatives, to provide more technical training, and to really do a better job of connecting the dots so that manufacturers, both big and small, know the tools that are available for them to use. We've tapped the Iowa Economic Development Authority, the ADI, and Iowa State University Center for Industrial Research and Service to spearhead the Year of Manufacturing efforts, but that's just the beginning. Today, we're inviting our state's major service and program providers to cooperate in this effort so that it can be as comprehensive as possible. By focusing our priorities on building a skilled workforce, promoting innovation and research and development, and really improving global competitiveness, we hope to elevate and bolster the state's thriving manufacturing sector. Our ultimate goal is to increase Iowa's manufacturing GDP from $29 billion to $32 billion by 2022. And the activities planned to pursue the initiative include providing educational opportunities for Iowa's manufacturing community, establishing an online toolkit at www.iowaspelledoutmfg.com, and building awareness of state resources via coordinated statewide company call program. In support of the Year of Manufacturing, we're joined by representatives from ABI, CIRRUS, and the Iowa Economic Development Authority's Innovation Council. To hear more from manufacturers who are driving Iowa's economy, I'm now pleased to introduce both Dr. Maureen Lockwood and Lori Schaefer-Wheaton. Dr. Lockwood is the manufacturing manager at Comfort, located in Newton. And Dr. Lockwood also serves on the Iowa Innovation Council and is speaking today on behalf of CIRRUS. And then Lori is the president of Agri-Industrial Plastics, and she also currently serves as ABI's board chair and is also a member of the Iowa Partnership for Economic Progress Board. So we'll start with Dr. Lockwood.
Good morning, I'm Maureen Lockwood, and I'm the manufacturing manager at Thomberg Incorporated. Thomberg is one of the world's largest manufacturers of polyurethane wheels and tires for electric forklift equipment. For over 70 years, we've been headquartered in Newton, Iowa, and we also have a second production facility in Brooklyn, Iowa. I'm here to speak with you today about the important role that an entity such as CIRRUS can play in helping Iowa manufacturers reach their full potential. CIRRUS has helped our company a number of times over the years, from polymer lab testing to helping us develop a plan to improve the efficiency of our warehousing. This kind of expertise helps Thomberg become more efficient, more productive, and therefore a better part of our community. This is why CIRRUS exists. CIRRUS uses resources at Iowa State University and around the country to help manufacturers in the areas of leadership, growth, productivity, technology, and workforce. When asked for assistance, CIRRUS assesses the state of your company, trains your employees on using the latest research-proven techniques, then embeds its experts for as long as it takes to reach permanent positive change. Last year, CIRRUS and its partners worked with more than 1,500 companies and generated more than $420 million in economic impact right here in Iowa. That number reflects money invested, costs saved, and new sales developed by some key Iowa employers. Iowa's Year of Manufacturing initiative represents an important step forward for this state, in that it'll make more companies aware of entities such as CIRRUS. Iowa has a lot of tools to offer manufacturers, including CIRRUS and ABI. The effort we're launching today via the Governor's Year of Manufacturing Initiative and the Manufacturing Toolkit found at iowamfg.com will help ensure that Iowa businesses know what help is available and where to access it. Thomberg is very happy to be associated with CIRRUS, ABI, and the IEDA. We appreciate all of the good work assisting Iowa manufacturers, and we look forward to partnering in support of Iowa's Year of Manufacturing in any way we can. Thank you. Lori?
Hi, everybody. So first, on behalf of ABI, as chair, I'd like to thank the governor and the lieutenant governor for recognizing the importance of manufacturing to the state of Iowa, and for all of their efforts and all of the partnerships that we have shared in so far. As president of Agri-Industrial Plastics Company, of course, I'm going to take a minute to talk about my company because I'm passionate about being in manufacturing. It's a great career. It does so much for the communities that we live in. I'm in a very small town called Fairfield, Iowa, in the southeast corner of the state, and we have a huge manufacturing backbone in that town. Our company specifically employs about 200 individuals, and these are high caliber, high skilled individuals. We make and send parts all across North America. We're a large part industrial blow molder, so we specialize in things like fuel tanks for non-automotive. So very complex products, and again, we ship them all over. You would be amazed to know how many great manufacturing companies actually exist in the state of Iowa. In every corner of our state, in every small town, there's a manufacturer. And not only are they providing great jobs, but they're contributing to their communities in so many other ways. Again, one of the reasons that I think this is so important that we stand up and say, hey, did you know that we have more than ag in the state of Iowa? Did you know the kind of jobs are out there in manufacturing? Is because in order to continue to grow, we need the pipeline of talented individuals to consider careers in advanced manufacturing. We are so fortunate to have the partnerships we have through ABI, through places like Cirrus, our Regent universities, our community colleges, all of which have addressed this issue in different ways, from Future Ready Iowa to the fact that we have a program called Elevate that is largely supported by all of these partnerships and funded not only by ABI and community colleges, but also by individual companies who care enough about creating the pipeline for all of us so that we can continue to grow. So these are partnerships that those of us who have lived it and breathed it, we know that we're all in this together, and we're very appreciative of that, but there's so many people out in our state that need to hear more about manufacturing. Tell me more. Open our doors. Let's go in and see a manufacturing company. What does manufacturing look like today? And what makes it advanced? Robots, technology, the skill level of what we have on our floors, that's all making it advanced manufacturing. And although we've come far, we have a long way to go. And I have no doubt that we can hit these goals, but it is going to take all of us working together. And it is going to take all of us continuing to talk about what advanced manufacturing is, what it contributes to our economy. The stronger we are as manufacturers, I believe the stronger the state of Iowa will be, all the way through the economy. So I appreciate everybody being here today. And again, I want to thank the governor and lieutenant governor for taking this on, and can't wait to be part of it. So thanks.
Okay, we'll open it for questions on this subject first.
For the two guests who just spoke, what do you think in your mind is holding us back? Is it workforce? Is it taxes? Is it regulation? Is it something else? What do you think before you really see kind of explosive growth in your industry?
Well, when I think about our constraint from a capacity standpoint and from growth, workforce, in that order. And I do appreciate, I really do appreciate though, the fact that we always have to be focused on making our economy business friendly, because manufacturers have a choice. The next time they go to put up a plant, they certainly can look at where to put that plant. And so the more that we look at the whole environment, making it business friendly, that's helpful. But what keeps me up at night when people ask that question, again, workforce. And I think we have it. We just have to develop it. We have to train it. And we have to make sure that these careers are highlighted as to they're challenging, they're interesting. If you're hands-on, you can make a career in manufacturing that you can't make other places, and you can be incredibly successful. Highest paid, best benefits, most challenging. So that would be mine.
I
Yes.
just have a question related to that. If you need a lot more workers, what about the fact that Donald Trump is planning to deport all of these immigrants? What kind of impact does that have on you? The fact that the nation appears to be, compressing its immigration system as opposed to opening it up.
Well, let me answer that by saying, actually, what Donald Trump has said, that he wants to make it easier for highly skilled people to stay here after they get their education. What he wants to do is stop illegal immigrants. Many of them don't have the skills that are coming across the border. So I think we need to make that clear. Also, the tax reform that the President and the Congress are contemplating would eliminate some of the impediments and barriers. America's corporate income tax is among the highest in the country, in the nation, in the world. And so we need to be more competitive, and as a result, a lot of these multinational companies have refused to bring the money back and invest it in manufacturing in this country. They've kept it overseas. So changing that also could help. So this is our state initiative, but we think what could happen at the federal level, if the tax reform is approved, could just put us in an even stronger position to compete when it comes to advanced manufacturing.
Governor, the research and development tax credit is under some scrutiny for being refundable, that there are literally tens of millions of dollars going to companies that aren't paying income tax. Is that, what do you think about that? I mean, you're talking about needing research and development, that's really under scrutiny now.
Well, yeah, I think when they get done scrutinizing it, they're going to come to the conclusion, wow, what a great incentive this is. It brings $100,000 jobs to companies like Pioneer DuPont, to Rockwell Collins, to John Deere, to Vermeer, and to smaller companies like the ones that are represented here today. So I think once they really review this, and there's possible changes that could be made in the system, but what we need to make sure is that this incentive, which has really put Iowa in a very strong position to keep engineers in our state, to attract high-quality jobs to Iowa, is not lost.
Well, as a
Lieutenant
member
Governor,
of
what
your own-
changes would you expect?
Well, I want to underscore the importance that the R&D tax credit has provided for great jobs in the state of Iowa. But as we look for, it's part of the reason is we have an uncompetitive tax rate. And so as we work over the interim to implement comprehensive tax reform, we need to take a look at everything. But that means maybe tweaking, that means making some changes. But to really look at comprehensive tax reform, we need to put everything and start doing the runs and take a look at what makes Iowa more competitive and how we can utilize not only a lower and more competitive tax rate, but some of the incentives that we have in place to encourage companies to invest in Iowa and to work with existing companies so that they can grow and expand. And most importantly, hire Iowans to provide quality careers so that we can continue to grow the economy.
But would you
Governor-
accept changes in
Well,
the
we're not gonna start one-offing and doing that. We're gonna put everything on the table, we're gonna bring stakeholders and expertise to the table, and we're gonna start walking through that. We've done that almost every year, working with Department of Revenue, running different runs to see what the art of the possible was. We didn't have the revenue this year to really implement comprehensive tax reform. It's been a priority since we first ran for office in 2010, and so it's gonna continue to be a priority. We've got a lot of great things done this year that will continue to make Iowa competitive and help us grow the economy. And the next step is to take a look at our tax structure.
Governor, a
These
follow-up
companies-
on this question. It was a member of your own party who's shining a spotlight on these tax credits. Have you been in communication with Representative Grassley about this?
Well, first of all, no action was taken this year, and I think both the House and the Senate are going to spend a lot of time over the interim reviewing and looking at our tax structure. Let me point out some good things that we have. The single factor corporate income tax, which means you only pay corporate income tax on sales in Iowa, even though our rates are the highest in the nation, and that needs to be reduced. But the fact that we're a single factor, and a lot of other states aren't, means that you can add all the payroll and property in Iowa you want, and it doesn't raise your corporate income tax. That's really important to a lot of these companies, like John Deere and like Pioneer DuPont, Vermeer, Winnebago, I could go on and on, Rockwell Collins. So also, several years ago, when I was governor before, we got rid of the tax on machinery and equipment. Boy, that's important for advanced manufacturing, because there's been huge investments made in equipment to be competitive. And all the computerization and robotics and everything that's in manufacturing today that didn't used to exist is critically important, and Iowa companies can make those investments and not have to pay an annual property tax on that equipment. So we have some things that are good. We can even be better, and that's why I think the tax reform that Lieutenant Governor Reynolds and both houses of the legislature are going to be working on is going to just help us become even more competitive for the future.
Can I ask a question about the session? Governor, at the end of the session, there was a lot of criticism by Democrats, $150,000 for transition. Said, how much
Oh,
is it gonna
come on.
cost? Just a
They
second.
gave,
They said, how much money is it gonna cost to haul those boxes from one place to another? How much cake can you?
Listen, the Democrats, the same Democrats, when they controlled everything, gave $170,000 for Culver's transition, and our budget for the governor's office is less than it was when Culver left office. Those liberal Democrats have nothing to talk about here. I tell you, I can't believe it. They would criticize a Republican woman, but they would give $170,000 to a Democrat male.
But there is no, how much of a transition is for somebody to move from one office to
Wait a
another
minute,
office?
there's a lot more than just moving off.
What is it?
Well, first of all, the new governor gets an opportunity to review all the departments and agencies. You have some people that leave, and I can tell you, when you have, especially with the system that we have, when you have longtime employees that haven't used their vacations, there's a huge payout if they leave. And so we expect there will be some of those kind of changes. And as a result, obviously, that's the reason why traditionally we've always provided money for transition. I just don't like this partisanship of people, you know, let's face it, this budget in this office is less than it was when we took office in 2011. And this is a one-time $150,000 appropriation for transition. They had no qualms about giving Culver $170,000.
And what is the governor's budget right now? You said it's less than when you took office?
It's roughly $2.1 million.
About 2 point, and what was it when you took office?
2011 was about 2.334.
Okay, 2,334.
Bottom line is it's lower than it
Yeah,
was
so
when we
it's
took
lower than it was.
office in
And this is-
2011.
You know, this is 7 years later, and the budget is lower. That shows we've cut the size of the staff, we've been very frugal, we've reduced the size and cost of government. We have a smaller and smarter government than we inherited, and we're proud of that. But there's no reason why Kim Reynolds should be denied the same transition that other governors have received.
Well,
What,
I
are
mean,
you going to sign the medical marijuana bill?
Well, obviously, this was just worked out in the closing hours of the session. So we're gonna carefully review it, but I think this is certainly a subject that has a lot of interest and support. And I'm going to carefully review it as I do all bills. But I'm pleased that the legislature was able to reach a consensus on this difficult and contentious issue. The big thing that I want to make sure is that we don't have unintended consequences.
If
Go-
you don't
government.
sign it, those folks who've gotten the cards or have decriminalized possession will go back to square one. Are you willing to do that?
Well, like I said, I'm pleased that the legislature was able to work things out and pass this bill. And I recognize that the previous law is going to sunset. But I also feel I have a responsibility to diligent review and consider all aspects. And that's what I do with every bill. But certainly it's something that I'm pleased was approved, and I'm very hopeful that we don't find any major problems. So I think it's likely that I will sign.
Governor,
do you
there was a
expect
lot
to
of
act
lobbying.
on all these
Go ahead.
bills, or will there still be some bills for the new governor to consider?
Well, it depends upon how long the confirmation process takes. I'll be going into Washington DC for a couple more days this week to meet with more members of the Senate, especially the other members of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee I haven't met with yet. I expect that I will have my hearing before the committee in May, but then there's still the confirmation vote in the committee and then the full Senate. So I expect that I'll probably be around for all, if not, most if not all, of the 30-day period that we have to sign or veto bills. But, you know, we'll take this a day at a time.
Question for the Lieutenant Governor. Swing and a miss 2 years in a row on water quality. What are you gonna do to try to address this issue next year?
Well, you know, we had a bill pass both chambers, both the House and the Senate, so we're gonna do what we always do. We're gonna continue to be a priority. It has been with our administration, it will continue to be a priority of mine, and so we'll work with both the House and the Senate versions. We'll work over the interim and see if we can come to some consensus, and we'll come back at it again next year.
Is there any possibility for a special session on water quality? It appeared that looked like you were very close. If they can come to some kind of agreement soon or over the next couple of months, could you call a special
I'm
session?
not gonna speculate on that. We're gonna continue to work together. We'll continue to, you know, we've got the right strategy in place with the nutrient reduction strategy, and we wanna make sure that we have a long-term sustainable source of revenue so that we can really put some money behind best practices so that we can reach our goal. And so we're gonna continue to work with the House and the Senate. And I feel confident that we'll figure out a path forward, and we'll be able to accomplish what I
Are you
just
willing
talked
to
about.
out as far as
We're
someone
gonna
that
just-
creates sales tax?
Well, I think we probably should start with the two bills that passed both chambers. That seems like a good place to start, so that you've got buy-in from both House members and Senate members, and so it seems like that would be a good place. That's where the governor and I started with the bill this year. It was the bill that passed with bipartisan support, the House last year, and so that's what we led with this year, and we'll continue to work with the House and the Senate and see where we can find consensus.
Rod?
I would also point out that 1 cent sales tax, or the 3/8 cents or whatever, was rejected by the Senate on a vote of 34 to 16. That's more than 2 to 1. So I don't think there's support for that in the legislature. There never has been over the time when the Democrats controlled the Senate. So I don't think that's changing. I think we had 2 bills that were fairly similar that passed both houses. We were disappointed they didn't get the differences worked out, but I think by continuing to work on that, it can get done.
Rod?
Have you ever had a session where you never used your veto power, and if not, could this year be your first?
I'm not gonna speculate on that. You know, the governor has both the power to sign or veto on regular bills and item vetoes on appropriation bills. And so we will carefully review all items on appropriation bills as well as the bills. But obviously, with Republican majorities in both houses and the commitment that we received from the leadership to work with us, I think you're gonna see fewer vetoes than has historically been the case. Most of the time, it's been either Democrats controlled both houses or we had a split legislature.
Barbara?
Lieutenant Governor referenced the best practices as it pertains to water quality. You just mentioned the line item veto power. I'm curious, given the lack of movement on the water quality issue with something like the Leopold Center, is that something that you have been thinking about, whether you would maybe go against what the legislature approved?
Well, first of all, I'm not gonna speculate on that stuff, but we will scrutinize all items in the appropriations bills.
I mean, the center's been around for 30 years. It's focused on sustainable agriculture, which is a huge priority, obviously, for the state.
Right.
Should we reconsider that, given that we couldn't move ahead on water quality?
That is certainly something we're gonna look at. We haven't made any decision, and obviously we don't have those appropriation bills yet, but we are gonna scrutinize all items that are in the appropriation bills, and that is certainly one of the more controversial ones.
Bill, and then Richard.
Governor, you've talked, and Lieutenant Governor talked about doing an IPER study, but nothing has happened yet. Where does that stand? When is the study going to begin on the future of IPERs? Are you going to appoint people to this task force? Where does that stand?
Okay, you wanna?
Well, you know, first of all, let's get this session wrapped up, so we're gonna finish out this legislative session. I think you've got some legislators that have been working on possible pension reform, but again, I wanna start with saying that any talk of pension reform moving forward means that we honor the commitments that have already been made. And so that's the place that we start from, and I wanna make sure that that message gets out. We know that we need it to be sustainable, and so possibly that means a hybrid or means going from a defined benefit to a defined contribution. We don't know what that looks like. It means bringing all stakeholders again to the table and talking about what's possible. But again, it means that we honor the commitments that have been made, so I want to make that clear.
When are you gonna do that?
Bill, I don't have some time frame on that right now, so we're gonna wrap up, finish the work that we've done with this legislative session. We've got bills that we need to review, make a decision on that. They just gavelled out and signed and died on Saturday, and so we've got a lot of time and opportunity to continue to look at what some of the initiatives and objectives are gonna be moving forward.
The other thing I would underscore what the Lieutenant Governor has said, is this is a long-range thing. So when you look at IPERS or the pension systems, you're really looking at something that's long-range, and the Lieutenant Governor made it clear that in no way are we gonna affect the benefits of the people that are presently retired or presently employed. So that is a given, and so that means that whatever changes are made need to happen over time. A lot of companies in the private sector have made these kind of changes. I think there's things that can be learned from that. There are some other states that have done things as well. All of that needs to be carefully and thoughtfully reviewed.
Last question, Richard.
Governor, could you tell us specifically the last time you supported an issue specifically, but the language that arrived on your desk was so flawed you had to veto that bill? Something come to mind?
Oh, there's several bills over the years that I've vetoed. I don't think I want to get into the specifics of it, but you can go back.
Can you recall the last time that you worked for something, but the language arrived on your desk?
That's the reason why I always reserve
Right.
judgment on bills until I see them in their final form. And that's the very reason why you don't want to say, I support this piece of legislation, and then you find out that it's changed so much during the process that you can't support it. Because we know as you go through the legislative process, things can change dramatically. And that's the reason why and I didn't say this when I first became governor, but this is something I gained from experience. And that is, and in fact, I had this experience one time. I had a bill that I was floor managing in the House when I was a state representative. And an amendment got attached to it that was so bad that I said I guess I'm going to use the language I used at that time, but when it came to final remarks, I said I cannot recognize the legislation anymore, and I urged people to vote no. It still passed.
What was it? What was the bill?
I don't remember.
Did you swear? Are you telling us you swore?
This is,
Swore on
Jerry
the floor?
Fitzgerald was the majority leader, I was in the minority, and, I just remember, he thought it was kind of cute that they asked people to vote against my own amendment. Because the amendment to the amendment dramatically changed it and made it just the opposite of really what I wanted to accomplish. But anybody that's watched the legislative process knows those kind of things can happen, and that can be funny, and it was. Thank you.